Potential tropical cyclone 18 has formed in the southern Caribbean, soon to become tropical storm Rafael, and may become a hurricane before it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll have a detailed look at that forecast coming up right now. Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here with a special update here on potential tropical storm cyclone. We are anticipating this to become a tropical storm for tomorrow, and of course it'll be named Rafael at that point, as the storm is going to be moving toward the north and heading toward the island of Jamaica and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, right now we do have tropical storm warnings up for the island of Jamaica for right now, and we do have hurricane watches that are up for the Cayman Islands, as the storm could potentially become a hurricane, although briefly, as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, as of the 5 o'clock advisory, maximum sustained winds are at 35 miles per hour as it's moving to the northeast at about 7 miles per hour. Now, as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, things are going to change a little bit for it as far as the environment's in. Now, the waters it's currently in is very, very warm, very bath-like, and the waters it's going to be moving into are cooled off as the Gulf of Mexico is cooled off a bit, and we're also going to be dealing with some additional wind shear as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. If anything, this could be a potential plus, especially if it can bring some moisture into the southeastern portion of the United States. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the latest model data. So first off, we're going to start off by taking a look at the latest model track guidance for potential tropical cyclone here, number 18, as we're going to be looking at a track that's going to take it to the north. So this takes a look at hurricane models as well as the global models and kind of gives us a plot. We can call it a spaghetti plot sometimes. So as you take a look here, as again, we're looking at our initial development down here in the southern portion of the Caribbean, generally moving into a northerly direction, but then starts to make a curve back toward the north into the west. And it looks like as it gets up into this position, out here into the middle of the Gulf, that's when I should be seeing things begin to weaken with the system. So for the next 72 hours, I think we're going to see strengthening. I think we're probably going to see a hurricane at that point. And then as it gets into that position, it'll begin to weaken. Now, what's interesting is if we take a look at the latest, as far as the intensity guidance map is concerned, some of these models are a little bit robust with this thing. Now, that is for sure. As you can see, a couple of them going into a category 2, category 3, as we go over to the next 72 hours or so. I don't know if we're going to be quite that aggressive, but I think generally seeing a category 1 hurricane is very reasonable to see, I think, with the system and the fact that the water temperatures are so warm, obviously, where it's going to be manifesting and developing here over the next couple of days. But as it goes to the north, obviously the trend will be for it to weaken as it becomes a little more hostile with the wind shear that's going to be impacting the system as it gets further north in a northern latitude. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at those latest computer models and see what they're showing us. So the European model is going to kick things off here as we're going to watch the development of the system. We're looking at the main sea surface pressure anomalies to kind of track where that low pressure is going to develop with this system. So let's go ahead and track this again as this thing moves up here toward the north as it goes by into areas there of near Jamaica. So there is where you see your center right there as it's coming on through. Now the European, of course, is not very robust and really strengthening this system up, but it does take it over Cuba. And then as it gets up to this position here, it looks like it gets shoved off toward the west, as it does appear that some energy may get thrown into parts of the southeast, and then this thing kind of moves off to the west and just kind of weakens and heads toward the Texas Gulf Coast at that point. So that's the European model. Let's compare that to the American GFS model. We'll see it as well as you're looking at this thing develop. Again, pretty good general location here in the vicinity of heading in toward Jamaica. Of course, the GFS model is a little bit stronger with this particular solution right here, as this will go up toward the north. But this kind of holds more toward the east. It's going to be going around an area of high pressure, which is basically off here toward its west. You got a big high over here, out here toward its east, I should say, and shunting it off around that area of high pressure as it does so. So this solution actually brings some sort of tropical storm into the Florida Panhandle and into the southeast. Again, an excellent solution considering areas of Alabama and Georgia have been dealing with drought conditions there. Now, that's to say we may not see some high surf as well as some heavy rains and maybe some severe weather potentially, obviously, with any kind of landfalling tropical system. But I think the benefits outweigh some of the negatives of a tropical storm moving in. Now, what we're looking at here is we're looking at the 500 millibar winds here. Again, kind of illustrating this thing getting pulled up here toward the north. As you can see, it kind of showing up right here down here as we've got this high pressure up here off the Carolina coastline. It's going to kind of move this up in this direction. Now, what the European model is doing is kind of throwing some of the moisture out ahead of the system and kind of shunting it into the southeast while it makes a turn to the left as it's going around that area of high pressure again. Again, that high pressure sitting right here as it's sitting just off the Georgia coast there. And it's going to kind of move this way before that next trough picks it up and takes it on up to the north, somewhere into around Louisiana and Texas. So it goes off the left, you even lose it the 500 millibar level. You can't even see it very well as this goes on by. Now, let's take a look at the precipitation mode on this. Again, you'll see what I'm talking about here, where I'm talking about maybe some solution where some moisture here, you're kind of seeing it out here in the Gulf of Mexico, out here early going into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, as this potential tropical storm, maybe a middle hurricane at that point, shunts some of that moisture into the southeast, and then what's left of this low kind of gets ripped apart a little bit with some of that wind shear and kind of makes a turn there toward the west, and then eventually kind of going up in this general direction later in the week as we head into the upcoming weekend. So that's that solution there with the European model. Now, let's compare the rain amounts. Again, this is the positive influence of this system. This is the European model showing the moisture kind of breaking off, heading into Georgia and into Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, areas that have been definitely needing the rainfall because of the drought conditions that have been persistent there. And as we take a look at that solution, the European solution, and you compare that with the latest American GFS model, they kind of line up. Their solutions are a little bit different on how it happens, where the European kind of splits the system apart. Some of the moisture gets thrown to the southeast, where the American GFS model just brings, again, what will be Rafael into the southeast, into Alabama and Georgia. But they're generally showing that trend of bringing some sort of moisture into the southeast, which will be the plus for this if it does, in fact, happen. Now, again, the big thing here, folks, we're not anticipating a major hurricane making a landfall anywhere along the Gulf Coast. The positives on this is that we are going to be looking at the potential to bring some rains in some areas that desperately need it. The negatives on that is obviously you could see some isolated flooding, and with any kind of landfalling tropical system, even if it's a weaker form, you could get some isolated weak tornadoes that potentially spin up there as well. Again, looking a little bit later in the week. We got a long ways to watch this, and yours truly will keep you updated on this as we go through the week. So if you'd like to continue to get these kind of updates in your YouTube feed, it would be an honor and a pleasure to be one of your weather sources. Please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content. And if you appreciate this report, as always, please leave me a comment down below, give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate your help in supporting the channel. All right, that's your quick update. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.